In today's episode, we spoke about her experience with placement, tips for time management, and what success looks like. This is the story of Joanna Dlugoszewska. So, Joanna, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me, first of all. My name is Joanna. I'm a final year international business student here at Loughborough University. I'm originally from Poland. I came here when I was 6 years old. I've been involved in many different things here on campus, between enterprise, a bit of an actress, to social enterprises, as well as different events going on at university. So there's been a lot of time management I've had to put in there, organisation, to keep myself level, in a sense, be able to attend all of the things that I've agreed to, obviously. But it's been an incredible journey, I have to say. I was very fortunate to also do my placement at Vauxhall last year, and fun fact, I got my grad job today! So only really positive things to say about my time here at university. So I look forward to the podcast today.
Awesome. So how did you find your placement, first of all?
It was such a random search at times. So this was already getting to November last year, getting really into the process, and it was sort of that panic. I'm just going to Google and try and find anything. It wasn't on Bright Network or university careers page or anything like that. It was just type in placements and apply.
Who will take me?
No, honestly. So I actually applied through Indeed. So that's where I found it. I applied to Stellantis as the group, and I had an interview over the phone, first of all, and then I did an assessment centre for it.
And how did you find it? Like, did you enjoy it?
It was my first assessment centre. Apart from all the other ones, they were sort of more online games, puzzles, you know, the verbal and numerical reasoning sort of tests. So it was quite daunting, I have to say. You know, at the age of, what was I then, like 19? It was really scary to be sat online, be sat in front of these professionals from Stellantis, which we had people from like Citroen and Vauxhall and loads of different brands. So first of all, we had a bit of a group activity. In my group, no one spoke. I was the only one, so I was like, guys, hello.
So they wanted you?
Yeah, it was so awkward. We had a bit of a task to pick one item that we would sell at Leeds Festival. So very bizarre task anyway. So that was a bit of a disaster anyway. And then we had a panel interview where they just asked me loads of competency and strength based in sort of questions. But I feel like I could shine there, especially that they really asked me what motivated me to apply for the role, obviously why Vauxhall and things like that. And I could really talk about my experience, my background, how my parents have sacrificed a lot to get me to the country and open doors to so many opportunities. So it was really nice to be able to share those things, show my more personal side, apart from just me being a candidate per se.
And what would you say is the biggest thing that you, like the biggest strength that you kind of gained over your placement year?
I think massively my analytical skills. From feedback from previous applications I made to placements, it was always, you have no analytical skills. Oh, we wish your data analysis skills could be better. And I never really understood what that meant. You know, they say this big word to you and it says, okay, which part of it am I struggling with? Those sort of things. So having to work with Excel 24/7 in a day for a whole year definitely taught me a lot. So I'm really thankful for those skills, especially that now in any sort of graduate role, that's exactly what they're looking for. So that wasn't a tripper for me anymore. I could go past those assessments, get to the interview and really show them my own personality.
As I think a lot of companies look for skills that you need, but there was no chance for you to get that experience until you have the job.
I 100%.
So it's like, oh yeah, we want you to have 3 years experience, but no one will take you in the first place. It's like, hello.
Exactly, it's that entry. You know, you get an entry level job and it says, like you mentioned, you need 3 years experience. Okay, I'm trying to get experience, but no one will take me without experience. So it's like a vicious cycle.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of a placement year though, because they kind of expect that. They kind of have like lower expectations in the sense of like you wouldn't necessarily have hands-on experience. You kind of get a lot of your knowledge and like expertise from your modules. Definitely. And like part-time work.
Right, they're looking more at things that you do at university. So it's not a case, obviously going to and getting the degree is really important, but it's additionally what you do with your time, whether you join a society, join a sport, do your own thing, maybe start your own business in a sense. work on your employability skills. It's all those additional things, or even arts and crafts, whatever is your passion, you being able to work on that already shows your resilience, determination, perseverance, all of those skills that employers are looking for anyway.
And how did you find working from home over, because you were fully remote, weren't you?
Completely remote, yes. It was tough at times. My first day, we went into the Luton office. I was myself and there were 13 other students starting on the placement. And the office was just so empty itself. There was just us, the HR lady, someone from health and safety, and our managers, which there were only like 6 of them anyway. So, but it was nice. Obviously, we met people. It was all this and the other. And then the next day, I was left with my laptop in my student accommodation that I rented out, and it was like, okay, get on with it. It was crazy. It was insane, especially being in the same 4 walls. I had a studio, so it was bedroom, kitchen, leisure and work all in the same place. So it was quite daunting. At times it was nice because you didn't have to get up at like 6 a.m. and get to the office. You didn't have to commute. But it's being able to become your own best friend in a sense and not go crazy.
And like deal with the loneliness kind of. So did you feel lonely?
You do, especially within my placement there weren't many meetings involved, so most of the day I just remained silent. Yeah. That was one of the things, but the only thing that really kept me going was actually me just watching Netflix on the side. So whenever I was doing work on my laptop, I'd have on the other side my personal laptop having Netflix, because I just needed that external sort of stimulation, just having something in the background, because otherwise I would have gone insane. More than I already did.
Yeah. So how did you motivate yourself? Because like a lot of people, though they probably don't want to admit it, probably do less when they work from home. It's because they don't necessarily find the accountability.
I get that.
Because your manager isn't exactly watching over your shoulder. You feel you're more like kind of trusted to do your work.
For sure. I think I might be sort of an anomaly, but it's something I would definitely wish upon everyone, is being motivated by the passion for the industry and the job that you're doing. My job pretty much entailed me doing reports 15 to 18 a day on Excel, which for a lot of people that could have been really daunting. I can imagine what you're already thinking about that. You know, it was
not
the
my
same
thing.
I had the same Monday, I had the same Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I did the same thing week in and week out, and I loved it. It was amazing. It's really sad, but I got to talk about cars. I got to analyse data about cars. I was listening to, when they say on the phone, these calls are recorded for quality and training purposes. I was the person listening to those calls, which I thought was really cool. So it's just my own passion, in a sense. I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. And if we did go into the office, which was quite rare, we had to wear face masks. We had to be away from people. So that sort of seemed even worse, so I just preferred to stay at home. That way I didn't have to have a face mask on the whole day.
Yeah. So what would you say is the biggest tip that you've taken from your placement into your final year studies?
Oh, I like that question. I think taking everything available to you during your placement, and the big thing that I learnt personally to me was self-belief. There's been many times where I'd be asked by my manager to, for example, redo a certain report that we did, or create slides, some sort of document. And every single time I obviously said yes, but then I'd say, oh, would there be someone better that could do it instead? Or I'm not too sure whether I'm going to be able to do it. I think I was very lucky because my manager was like, oh no, Joanna, come on, just give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? You might not be able to do it fully. I can support with the end things or things you're not sure on. Whereas I think if I had a different manager who was like, all right, I'll find someone else for it, I don't think I would have learnt as much, pushed myself enough, and even really shone in the company's eyes either. So I think that's been massive, just self-belief, knowing that you can do it and not regretting not doing it in the long run, to be honest.
And you just secured your grad scheme. Let's get another whoop whoop.
Literally today I got the phone call.
Yeah, that's
right before
awesome.
Coming here.
Well, as I've already said, congratulations. But how did you juggle applying for that and doing your final year studies? Because I know that like it's not just a 5-minute application. Like it takes so much time because especially if it's one you really want, you'll put like all of your kind of energy and
absolutely. It's not easy, of course, and I feel like anyone who's applying or has applied to placements and is or has applied for graduate schemes will say the same thing. But I feel like it's all about prioritising, and the thing that works best for me is just planning my day out, quite simply. I like to use Teams, funnily enough, as my calendar, so I literally just block out, so this is the time I'm going to be applying or doing something for graduate schemes. So obviously you apply to many different ones, so you don't just have one going on at the same time. So I block out a certain time, then I'd have block out where I've got my lectures, and then I'd also balance that with any coursework or deadlines that I had going on. But it is about prioritisation, and I think it's more about even productivity. You know, if you sit down and really smash it out, you could do an application really well in like half an hour. But if you've got someone talking to you here, or you've got your friends around, you might be cooking dinner and things like that, it's obviously going to make everything so much longer. So it's really sitting down, focusing, working on that, smashing it out, and then doing the thing that you needed to do additionally, that sort of thing. I think that's really what helped me.
And what do you find the most difficult part of juggling or like finding work-life balance? Because you want, like, you've got to focus on your uni degree, seeing your friends. Obviously you had a grad scheme up until now.
I think it's my realistic goals and tasks I set myself in the day. So it's obviously really easy to sit down in the morning and go, okay, so I'm going to do 1,000 words of my coursework that I've got due in. I'm going to do 5 applications for grad schemes. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to see my friends. I'm going to attend this event, right? And you set yourself 50 million things to do in one day. How much do you actually do with it? Like 1 probably, because you're trying to juggle all at the same time. So I've struggled doing that, setting myself too aspirational goals, whereas instead I should have been like, oh, why don't I write my introduction today and just focus on that? Oh, why don't I write just 300 words? Tick, and then I can do 1 application instead and still save that time. So I feel like that's been my struggle, just expecting too much from myself, especially that sometimes we don't realise the buffer time that we need in the day. We need to eat, we need to shower, we need to potentially go shopping. Those things also take time, and only less than 24 hours because you also need to sleep, surprisingly. I know, right?
Nightmare.
What a shame. I wish that we didn't need to sleep, I know. But it's just being aware of what you can do in a single day.
Because I think one thing that I've seen Grace Beverley does, that's something I want to bring into my life, is 3 non-negotiables.
I like
So you write your list and you write all the things that you split it into 3 kind of sections. So you have 5-minute tasks, projects, and 5-minute tasks, like 30-minute kind of to-dos, and then projects, and you split the projects into tasks and the tasks into 5-minute quick wins, and you kind of have on your list 3 non-negotiable things that you absolutely, by the end of the day, you will have found your success if you do those 3 non-negotiable things.
Nice.
So it's something that I want to start doing as well, because I find it really hard to write things down, because in my brain it's a big messy space. So yeah, do you have any do you write a to-do list?
I've actually, part of my module, I'm actually working on 2 goals. So one's all about self-confidence. I'm quite an extrovert. I don't really have a problem standing up and giving a presentation, even if it's in front of 200 people. But again, that self-belief, the self-esteem is really low. And the other one is also procrastination, productivity sort of thing. And I found this method, I feel like it's called the ALPEN method, ALPEN. So all of that, it's planning your day out, and that's what I've been using. So the A is the actual activity that you're going to be doing it, but it's specific what you're going to do. So instead of saying I will do university work, you say I'm going to listen back to this lecture, or I'm going to write my introduction. So really specific. Then the L is the length of time you're going to spend doing it. So realistically, in how much time can you get it done, right? Not giving yourself 3 hours to watch a lecture that's an hour 50. That sort of thing. P, that would be the buffer time. So again, putting in place, realistically knowing I'm going to have to eat at this certain time, have a break. Overworking your brain doesn't work very well either. Then the E is just achieving it, whether you have done it or not. And then the last one is whatever you haven't, you move on to the next day. So that's actually really been helping me, especially with the buffer time. I struggled being aspirational and being too ambitious. So that's brought me down to earth in a sense. And that's been really working for me. I like that way around it.
And so how did you find that was something you needed to work on? Did you spend time reflecting
Yes.
Did you do a SWOT analysis or
Thankfully, this whole module is all about self-awareness. So I did about 20 different psychology tests, theories, sort of things. Obviously the typical Myers-Briggs as a normal thing, can't go wrong. But also the 20 statements, there was one about positivity. So from that and the results, you already come up with certain things. And especially within Myers-Briggs, I'm an energizer, if anyone can relate to that as a personality type. I'm an energizer, which means I thrive off interactions and social interactions with people. And I sometimes can mistake action for result. That's really stuck in my head. So I will, for example, open my laptop up and be like, I did loads of lectures. I didn't do any of it, but I opened my laptop. So I feel like that was my realization. It's just being able to narrow down what I need to do and be mindful of it and aware. So self-reflection, I recommend. I didn't believe in it before this module, but it's done miracles for me so far. So self-reflection, kids.
What would you say is your biggest strength?
Interpersonal skills, probably. I love people. I'm quite friendly, social butterfly, bubbly. So I really love talking to people. I don't know, it's just, there's something that the energy that you get from another person, it's incredible. And you can find out so many things about people. It's just fascinating. If you speak to anyone here, like the lecturers or even students, finding out what they've done in their lives already, it's just really fascinating. So probably interpersonal skills. I like people.
And what would you say is the one thing that you're working on to be the best version of yourself right now? Self-belief.
Self-belief, 100%.
You think that's it?
Definitely not the only thing. I definitely, self-belief is something I'm working on with sort of sports psychology. So I've recently joined pole fitness to improve on those things like that. But I'd also say, in a sense, being a yes person is amazing to a certain degree. Like, I get the tendency of burnout very, very often, which I hide under and I continue doing things, and then I get burnt out even more, but I pretend like it's not there and I keep making it worse until I literally break down, sort of thing. So it's just, I wish I knew what I really needed to do and what I was doing because someone needed help, or I was bored that afternoon and then I signed up for 9 weeks of work. So sometimes, honestly,
things.
I said this to myself. I did it in first year. I signed up to way too many things. I had way too many things going on. I was crying every single night because I had so much going on. And I was like, final year, no. I've learned from my mistake. No, definitely haven't, because I signed up to everything at the start of the term when everything was obviously really quiet.
Yeah.
And now we're getting to deadlines and exam season and I'm thinking, maybe it wasn't the greatest idea. So yeah, I need to stop saying yes to everything.
But I think now you've got your next step sorted, you'll claw back a lot of time that you didn't realise you were spending on
100%
on applications. Because I know there's a lot of pressure for you to be in your final year and be like, so what's next? Because I'm getting that as well.
I was just about to say, how is that from your side?
Well,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's very... I think people feel entitled to know your plan sometimes. I don't know my plan, and I think,
and you don't need to.
Well,
either.
yeah, I think there's a lot of outside pressure that's expectations that you should know exactly what you're doing, and what's your 5-year plan, and where are you going to be in X, Y, Z.
And then, do you think not literally peer pressure, but pressure from peers also comes? So, for example, some of my friends know exactly what they want to do. They want to be an investment banker. This is what they want to do, sort of thing. And then when they ask you, what do you want to do? And you go, well, I'm thinking about this and potentially that. Yeah. And they go, so you don't know? It's like, well, why are you bringing me down? Sorry, all right, just because you had your life figured out from day one.
Yeah.
doesn't mean I need to. So do you think it also, not only does it come from people who are a little bit older than us, but also people our age who just sort of know, which I don't really know how, but applause to that, honestly.
Well, I think we're conditioned as a society to live off of comparisons. So I think
so true.
Like just social media, but social media is a culprit for just like, oh, well, look at what they're doing versus little old me kind of thing all the time. So I think, yes, it is. I find it intimidating when people know exactly what they want to do. However, I thought I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and then when I did my placement, that really kind of completely changed my mind, and I think that's also okay.
Absolutely.
Because I know that when you did your placement, that kind of cemented that was what you
sort of wanted to do, or at least the industry.
Yeah, and that is the furthest of what I wanted to do, right? So I even said this in an interview, which maybe I shouldn't, but we'll see if I get through to. I don't need to now, but we'll see if I would have gone through. But I said to them very clearly, when I was applying on placement, I want to be a consultant. I applied to every single consulting company there is, so whether it was McKinsey, PA Consulting, Accenture, all of the big ones, even smaller ones, everything in between. And it was one of them things that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do consulting. And then I obviously didn't get a consulting placement. I got a sales job at a car company. So I was already devastated enough about it. And then once I started working there, it was like, this is where I belong.
Actually isn't so bad.
Right? And now I would never change. Absolutely not. And that's why I'm so getting an offer from Renault now. I didn't hesitate. I just accepted because that's my path. There's lots of sort of car related careers within my family. So my dad was a professional driver. He's a lorry driver. His dad was a bus driver and a lorry driver. And it goes back in generations. Everyone was laughing because I'm an only child. Joanna's going to be driving trucks and lorries. And I was like,
I can do better than that.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be my career path. But you know what? Let's keep it in the back. That's fine. You know, can't take it out of the books now. But my way is to work at a car manufacturer. It's a different way, but it makes so much sense thinking about it now. And I just wish I applied to more potentially. Obviously, I was really happy with my placement. I wouldn't change it. But I wish I knew that back then, because that would have made my process much
hindsight is always a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Oh my god, I've learnt so much. Honestly, placement has been a real eye-opener. So I'm really glad that I wanted to do a placement from the start, but I would definitely recommend that to anyone, even if you want to try out something that you're passionate about and you want to see a certain career that you're really interested in, or you know exactly what you want to do. It's the best way to get experience.
Trial it, yeah.
What would you say is your best tip for someone who wants to stand out?
Ooh.
In an interview, or
it's in an interview. Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like there's the stereotype where you have to put everything down on your CV, right? So you list everything from your education to your paid work, your unpaid work, your volunteering, literally everything. And then you go to an interview or an assessment centre and they go, can you tell me something that's not on your CV? And you freeze, because it's like, I've put my whole life.
What isn't on my CV?
Right, I've put my whole life on a CV. So they might not necessarily ask you, but my advice would be to have that certain something that's not within your CV, your LinkedIn, something that people don't know about you that really makes you stand out, right? So it could be, it doesn't necessarily have to even be prior work or experience. It could literally be, I sew and I make clothes. You know, it doesn't really matter if it doesn't work. It just shows initiative and trying something different, right? Or it could be an extreme sport. I have climbed, I don't know, I've been paragliding. That's something to do. Or I swam with dolphins, right? So cool. I just think if you can think of something that's not on your CV or you haven't mentioned to a lot of people, that could be your unique selling point. Bit of a terminology drop in there. But I feel like that's how you can really make yourself stand out. Absolutely.
Have you always been organised?
Oh, I've been in organised chaos. Always. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people, and I think maybe quite a few people can relate to this, but it's organised in my own little way. So it might seem really bad from the outside, but I don't know. I feel like my life seems quite chaotic to a lot of people because I'm here, there, everywhere. So I might be an event here, and then I'll run to the next place, then I'll go and do something else. I'll work on this, that, and the other. I've got 50 I've got 50 projects going on at the same time. I'm visiting this person. I'm flying here. I'm going back home. So yeah, from an outsider's perspective, it might seem that I do not have my life under control, but I do, because I know where I am exactly from the morning till the afternoon. I know what is. I live by my team's calendar, absolutely. So yeah, I feel like it's just finding something that works for you. You know, for certain individuals, they will only focus on one thing in the day, and that's perfectly fine if that works for you. I like to focus on, I like my brain being stimulated. I feel like that's one of the big things. I don't like being sat there and doing one little thing. So that works for me, moving from one thing onto another. I think that really helps.
That can be quite intense for someone if life gets in the way. Yeah. So say like, I don't know, if you hear back and you're like, oh, I didn't get that placement that I really wanted, or I don't know, I just woke up and I just don't feel great today. Do you have any like tips for how to kind of get through it? So from a rejection and sort of, I don't like the word failure, but step backs, I guess, from that perspective, it's all about mindset. I don't think, unfortunately, there's necessarily a framework or something you can do to get past that. It's just you realising that it wasn't meant to be. So from my example, I got to final stage of Accenture for a consulting placement, but unfortunately I got rejected and they said I didn't have the analytical skills. They obviously really enjoyed speaking to me, whatever, but I just wasn't the right fit. And back then, obviously, I took massive offence. I was like, but how? Like, I did A-level maths. I can do all of these equations. I feel like they're just judging me incorrectly. But now, I'm really glad that I didn't get the job because I didn't have the skills that I then learned during my placement at Vauxhall. So I would have probably just been a weak link within the placement. I would have compared myself to other people within the programme and gone, I can't do that, and that's really disheartening. Or what could have snowballed from that, me lacking behind other people. So I'm actually really glad that didn't work out. I was meant to go to Vauxhall, and I'm a huge believer in whatever happens is supposed to happen. So I feel like you've just got to know that there are better things. If this didn't happen, that wasn't meant for you. And you've just got to keep searching and searching, because at one point you will find what is for you, your sort of destiny in a sense, but what was made for you. Absolutely. And then on the contrary, when you're talking about bad days, if you're feeling down, it's, in my opinion, your body's way of saying you have pushed yourself past your limit. I think there are certain times where you feel down and you're like, oh, I'm just having a bad day, but I need to brush it off. I've got so many things to do, which could cause an even bigger fall down in a sense. So I feel like if you're already starting to lose your spirit, motivation, even energy really, or sleepless nights, it means you maybe just need a day of doing nothing, or a day where you go and just sit with your friends, a day just to read your book, a day just to get away from everyone or be with everyone, whichever obviously extreme you'd like to go towards. If you don't listen to your body, then it's just going to get even worse. So you've got to know when to have that tiny little break, because then it will allow you to do more, whereas pushing through might actually not get you as far as if you just took that one afternoon, one day off. So is that how you deal with burnout? Yes, obviously from failed other practices, absolutely. I've always been the type of person that even if I was feeling down or upset, I'd wipe my tears away, put some makeup on and turn up to the event and pretend like nothing's happened, everything's great. Hi guys, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing amazing, thank you so much for asking, you know. Which then you'd come back home from this buzz and then realise what you were feeling before sinks in again, but even deeper, and you feel even worse. And there's been many times where especially during COVID, I wouldn't even get out of bed because I got myself to such an extreme point. So these days, if I feel like I'm
going to say no to an event, or I'm just going to say, guys, look, I'm not going to go on a night out today. I really just need to be in my space. I just want to watch a film. It's actually helped me, and that's been my massive learning point this year. And this has been very, very recent, literally this year within my final year.
And how would you define success? Like, what does success look like to you?
Oh, gosh, success. Can you even define it?
I think it's different for everyone.
Yes.
That's why I wanted to ask you, because I think probably our definitions and anyone else's definitions will always be really different.
Definitely. So I can give you my definition and then I'll ask for your definition just to get a different perspective.
Okay.
So from my side, it's not having regrets. That's success for me. If I've been able to do everything that I wanted to and not regret not taking on an opportunity, I feel like I've lived a fulfilled life. What else could I have done? You know, a lot of people keep chasing the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, but it's actually changing your mindset potentially and thinking, do you feel like, oh, I wish I ran that session, or I wish I ran that event. What if? I feel like if you ever have a what if in the back of your mind, it's, I don't know, I don't like that. I feel like success is just grabbing the opportunities that you want, not what is expected of you, and living the way that you want to, in my opinion. And again, we've spoken about comparisons so many times now. It's doing what you want to, because you're really allowed to. You get one life.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's you who's got to be with you for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
You're your own best friend.
Absolutely. Why should other people care what you do? I might not like the fact that you're an accountant. That's boring. So why are you judging me for working with cars? You know what I mean? So yes, I don't like the what if or I wish, those sorts of things. But what about you? What's success?
I think similar. I think my mindset and kind of values have definitely changed. I think going forward in a career sense, success to me is something that I feel is meaningful and I can impact. So for me, I think like it definitely, I've reconsidered kind of what kind of things that I would want to do.
Oh yeah.
Because I think I want to be in a smaller team where I feel that I feel listened to.
Yes.
And I and I think a lot of like the thing that I love the most about this job is that I have a lot of creative freedom, because I mean it's kind of my say at the end of the day.
Where you take the section, absolutely.
So I can kind of pitch my ideas and it's like, okay, make it happen then, kind of thing, which which I really, really like. And I think finding something meaningful, and then therefore I feel I'll be happy. And to me, like happiness in careers is success, because you spend so much time in your job.
Yeah.
You spend like most of your kind of day in your job, so like have fun while you're doing it.
Absolutely. And we've got so many years left till retirement, right?
Buckle up.
Oh, hell yeah. So if you don't enjoy it, then I feel like you're just going to be miserable. I don't know. And there's obviously loads of indicators of success. Some people will go down more of the tangible things. So maybe it's money, maybe it's a house, even a family, cars, you know, things like that. Those are still great things if that's how you see success. Absolutely. I mean, everyone would love to drive a Lamborghini, right? You wouldn't say it was pass it down. Okay, Ferrari. A really cool sports car probably wouldn't pass that down. But it's also the experiences, and maybe, you know, imagining yourself when you're 80, 90 years old, sat with your grandchildren and being able to tell them stories from your youth. I think having certain stories, life lessons, and even adventures that you could share with them, I think it's a really heartwarming moment and shows that you had a really fulfilled life, that you've been happy with and you've been successful.
How are you feeling with regards to starting your grad scheme? Are you nervous?
Oh, I'm really nervous, but the one thing that sort of really helps me is that I've been to the office. I was very fortunate to get invited to an in-person interview, which I actually haven't done. Like, I know it might seem really crazy.
Ever?
Because of COVID. all of the interviews and assessment centres for my placements were online. And even now with grad schemes, no one else has invited me to the headquarters or a certain location to come to an interview and things like that. It was either recorded or on Teams. So it's my very first time going to an in-person interview, which was daunting enough, but I got to see what sort of drive it was, where to go in, what the buildings looked like. I even found like a cafeteria area because my parents actually drove me there because you can't get there other than a car. So bless them, they found the cafeteria. So from one side, I feel a bit calmer, just as I've seen the location. I sort of know what to expect, what the office looks like, how it's structured and organised. But obviously at the same time, I'm really nervous because you have to learn information about a company right from the start. It's going to be their models, the specifications, even the way they run, whether they communicate by email, if it's by Teams, if it's in person. It's learning about the whole dynamic.
Culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's so many, each company works differently, so it's starting from scratch basically. But I've heard they take on quite a few different graduates, so there should be like a cohort of us. So
That'll be nice, like a little family you can kind of rely on.
I'm hoping for that, especially the cohort that we had for placement. There were 14 of us all together, but we never spoke to each other. So fingers crossed with us being in the office minimum 2 days a week, and maybe they'll be a bit more friendly. You never know, it's fine. But it's a mixture, definitely. And at this point, obviously, it's just happened. I don't think it's quite sunk in yet. It's still something very much, I need a grad job, but I don't. Yeah, it's trying to process it still.
Well, yeah, because you almost don't want to say you want one too much in case it doesn't go your way.
Right, I'm still yet to receive my contract.
Yeah.
So it's, again, trying not to jinx it. Imagine.
You got this.
So going back to uni, what would you say, like, how has first year Joanna changed from like you versus then? Like, what would you say is the biggest change in you?
My biggest change, wow, I've done so much. It's crazy to even think back on the things I've been involved in. I think I've grown a lot as a personality. I was a bit more of a mess than I am now, definitely. But I think even
That's on growth.
oh yeah. But I think very much just on maturity itself. Back then I always chose nights out and social events over my degree. I never really put too much thought into it, especially with first year, not counting towards anything. It was a bit of a recap from A-levels for me also. Yeah, I feel like that immaturity there sort of, it was the first time for me drinking as well at university, so all of those different aspects. Whereas now, I feel more ambitious. I want to achieve something from my degree, from my life. When I was younger, I wanted to be a lifeguard. So I feel like I've made quite an improvement in terms of career aspirations. So definitely that. And just, in general, positivity, and I think accepting myself. There's been, again, the comparison, I know we keep going back to that, but there's been opportunities for me to be able to work in bigger companies like JP Morgan, but I have the strength and confidence in myself now that I know that's not what I want to do, and I'm doing everything I can chasing what I want to do in my life. So I'm just really proud of myself that I've not pushed myself to find my path too soon. I knew that I would, and I let myself grow, develop, and find out what I enjoyed to get to this point. And it's really rewarding at this stage in my life, and there's so much more to come. I'm just really excited to see how else the rest of my final year pans out. I'm obviously really excited for graduation and then starting.
It's an amazing feeling. I think
I can imagine.
Yeah, it'll be one of the best days
I
of
don't
your
think
life.
you can even describe it. It's one of those things that's definitely what I've been looking forward to the most out of university. It's that I did it.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, it's been a journey, but I'm just really proud of myself that I've gone from, you could even say, a child to a woman, a businesswoman that is ready to step into the professional world.
I love that. And if there were any students who are feeling lost, or I don't know, don't necessarily know, like don't feel guided, what would you say is some advice for them?
Some advice. I think definitely don't push yourself, like I mentioned, to immediately find whether it's your group of friends, your aspirations, your hobbies, things like that. The only thing, especially in your first year compared to your second and third year, you have so much more free time. I don't think enough people realise that. Obviously you want to get good grades and you still go to your lectures and things, but you definitely do a lot less extra reading and coursework in first year than you do in those second and third years, or for some people fourth years like me. I think it's your opportunity to try things. So even with societies, you can go to a taster session, join it, and even if you don't like it after 2 weeks, no one's going to be chasing you, surprisingly. So you can go and try this, you can go and try that. You don't have to necessarily sign up and commit to certain hours a week. The world is your oyster in first year. I think that's where you really find your true passions and hobbies and interests. You go from school and there's so much out there. You've got belly dancing, you have tabletop games, you have surfing that you can try, which is crazy enough for me. Sport-wise, you can try IMS, so between halls, but you can also try AU. Just try it. I don't know. It can be daunting. I was very lucky when I first started that. I had a roommate. Who can remember those days, having a roommate? I was in Butler Court, if anyone couldn't tell. So I had an instant friend, you could sort of say. And then I met my group of friends that I'm still friends with now on my first day. But I know it doesn't happen with everyone. So I feel like if you just put yourself out there, go into your kitchen, you go to your lectures, you go to the union even to work, try society sports, you always find your people. And then your people, per se, can lead you to building a community, and they could be doing something that you might be interested in. So it takes time, but I would definitely recommend and advise first years to just try things. That's your time. And even if there's some of final years listening to us as well, it's also not too late. Mm-hmm. I've never done pole fitness before, nothing remotely close to it, and so what? We've built such a family in just the 2 months that we've been together, in terms of socials like Mario and Luigi, even Playboy bunnies. It's a bit of fun, it's a bit of laughter, and actually then that I've met those friends from pole fitness and other things like sprint event that we do together. Mm-hmm. It sort of all links together, so it's never too late to try new things. That's how you can find a sense of belonging within people, but also activities and hobbies that you do.
I think it's also knowing that you can say no to things as well.
Definitely.
So like if you try something and you're like, oh no, it's not really for me, or my values have changed, or my time that I have to kind of free to do things has changed, you can change your mind.
100%.
Like you don't have to do something just because you said yes at the start of term, or like you need to put yourself first as well, like put your well-being first.
And I think that's quite unique for university, just as a setting, because I feel like once you get into the professional world, mm-hmm. you're expected a bit more. If you've committed to something, that's your commitment. You follow through with it, whether you like it or not. Whereas at university, I feel like it's acceptable. Could you even say that?
It's more of a safe space, I think. So yeah, like you said, you can try things. So like obviously we offer initiate funding where you can try the idea out, and if it doesn't work, it's okay. Like
even if you use that money towards something and it doesn't work out, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Exactly. I think there's a lot of like at Loughborough, it's like inspiring winners. I always say this, but like I think yes, it's great to have like all those amazing aspirations in mind, but like it sometimes does feel like it fosters a bit of a fear of failure.
I agree.
So like yeah, you need to put yourself first, and like if things change, that's okay. So I think that's what I've definitely learnt. Like that. Things that I did in first and second year, I didn't do in my final year.
And you don't have to.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think if you tried new things every year, just see how much you could talk about within your interviews in later life, how you could leverage those skills. Mm-hmm. Whatever you get involved in, you learn something. So it doesn't have to be necessarily specific technical things. It can be anything you want. And like we said, university is the time for it, in my opinion. This is where you can have your ups and downs. You can pop in, try things, tasters for a few months, join late, I don't think I've ever come across a society or a sport where they penalise you for starting late or just coming once or twice. It's open. You get involved with whatever you want to, and I think that's what we should be taking advantage of. Just try it and see how it goes. Absolutely.
And was it always going to be Loughborough?
For me, yes.
Me too.
I have to say, I don't even know how it came around, but I think through netball, that's probably been the way into Loughborough. Obviously, Loughborough Lightning. So inspirational and an incredible team, and as someone who's played on a regional and a national level, always that's the goal. In terms of athletic mindset, you think about the next step. So one time I just came to see the campus as an open day. I was honestly 17 at the time. Younger. No, I was about 16. I was about to start my A-levels, and I came to an open day.
Wow, she's a keen bean.
People were very confused why I was here, but I was like, it's fine. I came all the way from Grimsby by train by myself. It was a whole, adventure. It was fine. But I just wanted to see the facilities for netball. And then I saw the campus, and I remember standing there and thinking, this feels like home. And everyone was so nice, and I know they're going to be nice because it's an open day, but everyone was just so nice, and the campus was huge. I couldn't believe there was a bus that you could take from one side to the other. I was
from the train station.
Exactly. And even on campus, the free bus, you have to take a bus to go from one side of campus to the other because it's that right. And then it was just, I don't know, I just remember standing at the fountain looking at the buildings, and I was like, I could study here.
Yeah, I feel the same. I think as soon as I came to Loughborough, I knew that it was never going to be anywhere else.
No, it was that it might sound really cringy, but it was that feeling. I've been to obviously other open days to other universities like Leeds, and even I went all the way to Liverpool to Edge Hill, but I never felt that peace and belonging in a sense when I stepped foot on campus at Loughborough, and we're purple.
We bleed purple.
I love purple so so it felt like it was meant to be, definitely.
And no regrets?
Hell no. That's what I live by, no regrets ever.
What's been your favourite memory? If you had to pick one favourite memory of your time at Loughborough?
Oh, just one? Oh, I don't know. Like I said, I've done so much at Loughborough. I think one moment that will always stick in my mind, and this was unfortunately during COVID, so it was a bit more online and things, but I remember I was just sat in my room and in my own business, and I got an email from Amanda Berry saying something. The story can feel really confusing, but when I first read the email, I understood it as I got shortlisted for the Dean's Award in Enterprise, and I didn't even know what it was, but I was like, oh, this is really nice. So I showed it to my boyfriend Jake, and I was like, oh, look at this, isn't this cool? And he goes, you won the Dean's Award in Enterprise, you understand what that means. And I was like, what does it mean? You tell me, I have no idea. And it turns out it's obviously the award that you receive for Enterprise, and it's how everyone in the whole business school, which is crazy enough as a first year, because I got it for the year before, and it was just that moment of wow, I got recognised by a university. I've received certificates before, like, well done, a great achievement in your maths, right? It's so sad at school, in secondary school, the only girl that took part in cross country, well done, have a sticker or have a medal sort of thing. But being rewarded and recognised at a university where there's obviously thousands of us, I will never forget that. That was just a wow moment. And then my certificate came through the post, and my parents were just so over the moon, and it was just it was really nice. I'll never forget that, just being recognised.
How'd you get that?
How do you get that? All of my work at an Actors, of course. Thank you. So I was an Actors. I was vice president of engagement. I was project leader of an enterprise called Enriching Future Generations. So we provided interactive soft skills sessions for secondary school children. I also helped a lot within the business school. I was obviously looking at placements. Honestly, what was I not involved in? And yeah, I just got that email, and it was like, congratulations, you got it. I was like, so
pinch me moment.
I couldn't have honestly described that better. Pinch me moment. It's just wow. Yeah, I'm still speechless to this day about it. 100%.
Well, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure having you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
It's an honour, definitely.
Thank you. Okay, that's it.
And it's a wrap.